Welcome into Between the Pylons. I'm John Camacho.
And this is Jacob Waters.
And guys, we have a great show for you guys today. We have a bunch of news and notes, a lot of big things going on around the NFL, and a little bit of college here for you today. We are going to be talking about some fantasy football strategies, some draft strategies. It's going to be the start of a new series that we're doing on the channel where we're just going to kind of discuss, we'll be discussing fantasy football, the players and all that. But I think it's really interesting to talk about, how do you play fantasy football? What's the best, ways to play? What are the best trade things? And this week we're talking about the draft, but we're going to kind of go down the line, everything that has to do with fantasy football. We're going to get you ready starting now, and then hopefully way down the line we can cut it all together and make it one big podcast that we'll put out. It'll be like a bonus feature type of thing. And then we're going to end the show with a top five. We're going to go back to what we were doing during our previous series, because we only started halfway through talking about top five divisions. So this week we're going back, top five AFC South offensive and defensive players.
Right jersey.
Right jersey. Hey, we got that. Hey. And you guys are probably wondering what this is behind me if you're watching on YouTube. On the podcast, we do have a Saquon Barkley jersey behind us, brand new, been worn, I believe, once by me. That's it. And I wore a shirt under it, so it's basically brand new. We're giving that away. All right, so we're doing a giveaway for the month of July. All you have to do to enter is, if you are on the podcast, if you can go on to Apple Podcasts and give a like, give 5 stars, and leave a comment. Then that will enter you in. Leaving the comment will enter you in. You also have to leave the 5-star review. If you don't have Apple Podcasts, you can go onto YouTube. Do the same thing. Subscribe to the channel. You have to subscribe to the YouTube channel, and you have to leave a comment under any of the videos. Every comment under each video will give you a chance, so you can potentially have, 8 chances to win. You'll get entered every single time. So you can enter on the podcast and on YouTube. We don't care. We're counting up every entry. We're going to randomly pull a name, and they will get a jersey. We'll send it to you
for free.
Exactly. So that's going to be fun. That'll work out. So let's get back. Let's get into the show. News and notes. Obviously, I think everyone knows what we're going to talk about at the very beginning. Patrick Mahomes gets a amazing deal, to say the least. A historic deal, to say the least. 10-year extension, ends up being a 12-year deal worth up to $500 million, $502 million.
Even saying billion when talking about football.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Player contract wise, it's crazy.
Crazy. And we're gonna unpack this deal. We're gonna kind of talk about everything that goes into it. It's really interesting. So first of all, at a glance, what this looks like is basically their annual salary of Patrick Mahomes over the next 12 years is gonna be about $45 million. All right, so it doesn't work out that way perfectly. I believe the next 2 years is actually kind of a discount for the team still.
Yeah.
So the next 2 years, he definitely got a raise, but it's not highest paid quarterback in the NFL race, so they're still going to be able to keep some of the guys that they have on contract right now. Then moving past that into 2026, I believe, his annual salary jumps up to $31 million. 2027 jumps up to $42 million, and then it hovers around $40 million for the next 4 or 5 years actually.
Yeah.
2027. And by the way, on YouTube, this is going to be put up, so it might look a little bit better than me just explaining it. But I want to get all those details out so we can really dive into this contract and talk about it. In 2027, that's the big year. He's going to get $59,950,000. So basically a $60 million deal in 2027. So that's a big year. And then it jumps down to $44 million in 2028, and then it finishes out the rest of his career, or rest of his contract, 2029, 2030, and 2031, anywhere from 45 to 52 million. So it stays in that ballpark. So yeah, a lot.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it really is. The first thing I think should be noted, the way the contract works is that on the third league day of the third league day, I believe in this year, actually, I guess I'm not sure how it works at the beginning. So his contract, the first 3 years of his contract becomes fully guaranteed, I believe, in a month or so for right now. So he gets like $66 million, I think, guaranteed over the next 3 years, and then after that point, the year before, the next year's contract is fully guaranteed. So on the third league year of the 2026 season, the 2027 money is guaranteed. Does that make sense? Did I explain that well?
So he's got to be able to play into that year in order to guarantee his next year.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very crazy deal. I think there's a lot of opinions swirling around it. Also, it should be mentioned there's a no trade clause, and he gets a $2.5 million incentive for it's 1.25 for getting the AFC Championship, and then 1.25 for winning NFL MVP.
I don't even think he cares about that.
No, that's a drop in the bucket.
$2 million when we're talking $500 million.
Yeah, nothing. But it's just worth mentioning. That's how they get that. It's a deal worth up to $502 million. Probably won't get that every single year.
Well, what's your opinion on it? Come on.
All right. So I mean, at first glance, I think this is actually more of a team friendly deal than a Patrick Mahomes friendly deal.
You're gonna have people just pick up their jaws. You just said a $500 million 10-year deal is team friendly.
It is team friendly, and really, I thought I was going to be very on one side of this. I woke up to articles today, just different things that I'm not the only one saying this out there. And I don't know if maybe this is crazy, but I've seen a couple different articles kind of saying similar things. And essentially, the fact is, yes, he's going to be the highest paid quarterback. Right now, it's definitely team friendly over the next 3 years. Like, he's just getting paid probably what he deserves, probably a little less than what he deserves.
He's getting a thank you bonus.
Yeah, exactly.
His salary on the cap isn't even that much. It's the bonus.
Exactly.
Where it is.
So he's getting a nice little pay raise, and then when he was really due to have another contract, yeah, he's jumping up into the highest paid quarterback, or what would be the highest paid quarterback at that right now.
The market reset.
But the thing is, the market's going to go up.
Yes,
right now, Russell Wilson, or I guess 2 days ago, Russell Wilson was the highest paid quarterback at $35 million a year, right? Now it's Pat Mahomes getting anywhere from about $45 million annually. Yeah, that's going to go up. And this is a great way to just talk about it and bring this up. Go back to 2012. Who were the highest paid? Who do you think the highest paid quarterbacks? I actually have it right here for you. The top 4 highest paid quarterbacks. Who do you think they were? Peyton was number 1. He was at number 1 with $18 million. That was with the Broncos. Who do you think number 2 was?
God, he was at the Broncos there. That's wild. That was after the injury.
Yeah, he was.
Is Sam Bradford still around?
Sam Bradford is still around, yes.
Is he on there?
He is on there.
Okay.
Do you think he's number 2?
Yeah, I mean,
he is number 2.
Got a lot of money.
Yeah. Sam Bradford's number 2. So this is crazy. This was his rookie deal. He signed a 4-year, $78 million deal as a rookie, and he was the second highest paid quarterback.
Yeah, that was one of the last years before they changed that rule.
Which is great. I'm so glad we don't have to talk about that anymore. He didn't deserve to be that as a rookie. He never really would have earned that kind of money, but that's just the way it was at that time. He made his money, whatever. Sam Bradford was making $15.6 million a year. $15.6 million. That was the second highest paid quarterback.
Big Ben.
Big Ben is not on there. Not in my top 4.
Tom Brady?
No.
I know Tom
Brady always took team-friendly deals.
At one point, he was up there, though. Yeah. What about Eli?
Eli's not on there either.
Okay.
You are missing one guy who is
Michael
still
Vick.
Michael Vick is in there. Damn it. All right, so I was going to sell it. Michael Vick is number 4 at, let me look here, $13.9 million, right? And then number 3 is somebody who is still in the league today. I know where you're kind of going over who the best quarterbacks were back then.
Yeah.
Keep going down that list. You're gonna find them pretty quickly.
Still relevant then.
Yeah, I guess he's relevant. Yeah.
Phillip Rivers?
Phillip Rivers, yes.
There we go.
Phillip Rivers
I did good.
Yeah, no, you did great, actually. I'm actually
either.
upset. I'm really... Well, yeah, I was kind of hiding it, and I just kind of had to keep looking just to double check.
I wouldn't look it
I know you weren't.
I
know you weren't. Man, that sucks. I was hoping that would be a bigger moment. I thought you wouldn't know him.
The biggest point behind it is in saying that Peyton Manning was getting $18 million. Was that the number?
$18 million. I have it up right here now.
8 years ago?
8 years.
So 8 years ago, $18 million was the pinnacle of quarterback money. We have Case Keenum, who's on a 1-year, $18 million deal for the Cleveland Browns as a backup now in the league.
Yeah.
So that is why I think that Pat Mahomes was doing the Chiefs a favor. Yes, he gets his money. Yes, for the next 3 years, it might be a little high. When you look at it on paper, it's not. Russ is still making more because he's getting a base salary of, what's his base salary for next season?
It's right here. His base salary for next year is just $5 million.
Yeah.
That's really all it is. Now, he gets a huge signing bonus, and that goes into it. But his base salary is just $5 million.
So he's getting $5 million, and they give him the bonus.
Signing bonus of $10 million, yeah.
Yeah, and then now a year after that, that's where they start giving him the thank you bonuses.
Yeah,
for the
24
and the MVP.
He ends up getting $24 million in 2021.
As he should, though. We knew Pat Mahomes, whenever this deal was coming, we knew it would break the market. We knew it would be shattering. And at the end of the day, to think 10 years later, you could still have Pat Mahomes on your roster for 45, maybe a little north, $48 million.
Yeah.
That's a deal. I'll take that. I seriously will. 8 years. 8 years, $18 million. We're talking So pretty much double. Double is what you're looking like for
double
the cap.
plus, honestly. Yeah,
you're looking for a double plus. That means that there's going to be guys realistically going in the $50 and $60 million in 10 years. I know that's hard for us to imagine, but the NFL is huge. It's a monster.
It's only
it keeps getting bigger. The cap has never gone down besides this year with coronavirus.
Yeah, and I don't even think it hasn't even officially gone down yet. It's just been rumored to go down. Yeah. And here's the thing, guys. Some of the bigger things that are going on in the NFL is going to get bigger because of betting rights, right? So gambling is now legal in a lot of states, and that's just going to get more widespread. You're going to see. I mean, it's easier to access the NFL than any now than it ever was before. Fantasy football has gotten bigger. There's more ways that people can profit. Daily fantasy has gotten huge. There's more ways that people can profit. Therefore, there's more reason to watch the NFL. Therefore, the NFL is going to just make more money. So it's going to go up. There's no way it doesn't go up. So yes, this sounds like an insane deal. Yes, and it is. Don't get me wrong. I understand that.
No, I get all that, but there's guys that have been paid not way more money. I get that, but astronomical deals for way less of work. And we are talking about a 25-year-old Pat Mahomes who's going to be there for 10 years. Kansas City celebrate. You have a GOAT for 10 years now.
Now, these are two very different situations, right? So that should be noted. But when you look at the next 3 years of this deal, next 4 years of this deal versus the entire contract of Ryan Tannehill, very similar numbers. Very similar numbers. And granted, Ryan Tannehill, he got paid because he was going to be a free agent. Titans kind of got scared, and they offered him a deal. And the Tannehill deal was actually kind of a team-friendly deal because there's a huge out after 2 years. So the Titans were able to kind of they have a safety valve.
They get to hedge it.
Yeah, exactly. They get to hedge their bets on that contract. But I mean, it's the same kind of numbers, right? So yeah, it's a team-friendly deal. And as crazy as that is to even say, the value of a quarterback is all we can talk about right now. Like that's the only part of this conversation that actually matters.
As long as you have Pat Mahomes, your team is going to be in the talks for best in the AFC, Super Bowl talks. Because we can't bet on injury. I've heard people say, "Oh, what if he gets hurt?" Yeah, I mean, anyone can get hurt for so and so amount of time.
Yeah.
How many career-ending injuries truly have we seen affect a quarterback, and especially in today's game? I can go back years and years ago to a Rich Gannon who had a neck injury. Great quarterback, solid. Was still able to come back after that and not be himself, of course. But my point being is that I can only find one or two career-ending injuries.
I think of Chris Sims back in the early 2000s.
And if we're going to sit here and truly talk about that being your biggest fear, don't sign anybody then. Injury is a real part of this game.
Yeah.
But who do they protect the most? The quarterback, the offense. That's how it goes.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more, honestly. I mean, you don't plan for injuries. And obviously the way this contract is structured, if he gets hurt and it's serious in 2026, just theoretically, if it happens in 2026, well, okay, they have to cover the 2027 salary, and then they're done. I believe there's also a stipulation here that says they have like $140 million guaranteed injury guarantee. So some of it's guaranteed for injury, but not all of it.
I just don't like seeing people defend the argument against this contract, and their main base is injury. Yeah. That could happen anywhere. I'm sorry.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and when you look at the numbers, too, to give me Pat Mahomes, I'm a Vikings fan. We have Kirk Cousins, who in 2023 is scheduled to get, maybe 2022, $42 million. I
believe it was in 2022, yeah.
Pat Mahomes hadn't even hit that in 2022.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Crazy.
Crazy. I'm comparing them there.
Yeah, no.
I'm jealous.
It's crazy to think about how much of a lottery teams hit if they get the right quarterback, man. Because, I mean, the Chiefs, they hit the fucking lottery with Patrick Mahomes.
They will forever look like geniuses in the Trubisky-Deshaun deal, which Deshaun's payday's
Deshaun's good,
That's another thing that I wanted to bring up after the Mahomes thing was, what do you think this sets up for the future?
Yeah, I think it's Deshaun. I think is the first one people think of as the next guy up as far as a
not that
young
mark,
guy
right?
getting.
What if he goes into that office and says, "Pat Mahomes to the Chiefs, I am that to you."
Yeah, no, I mean, it's difficult for me to say. I'm not gonna sit here and say anybody is that. Nobody is Mahomes right now.
Yeah.
I just can't put myself in that mindset. He's close. He's really good. He's an all-pro franchise quarterback. All those things. I first of all, I'll put it this way. I'll be perfectly frank. I don't know why a quarterback or any player would want a 10-year deal. Especially the way things look, the way things are moving up. I mean, there's a reason. There's a reason most guys, like, there's only been 4 signings or 4 extensions to big name players in this offseason. That's a low number. There's a reason it hasn't been that many. It's because a lot of these guys are waiting to see what happens with COVID and waiting because they know the money's going to go back up next year. Like right now, things don't look good. Nothing's going up as far just socially in our world right now.
We were together yesterday when we heard about Pat Mahomes' deal for 10 years. So details hadn't come out yet. We only assumed it had to have been salary cap percentage based.
Yeah, that's what.
It had to be. He's guaranteed this and this and this because, like we said, over time it devalues.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've been talking about for years, or at least I've definitely been thinking about it for years, that at some point a quarterback is going to demand a percentage of the salary and just say, hey, I want 15, 20%, whatever it is. Like
build
he's gonna,
around me.
And build, exactly. You get 80% of the salary or salary cap every single year, do what you can. Yeah. And that can happen. I'm shocked that Mahomes wasn't able to get a deal like that done, but I mean, at the same time, can't deny $500 million. Deshaun Watson, I could see him maybe getting that. I mean, look, this is crazy because Mahomes signs a 12-year extension, essentially. Dak Prescott is refusing to sign his contract because he wants 4 years instead of 5.
Yeah.
And I've defended that on this podcast. I've explained why I think that makes sense.
Yeah, it opens you up for another chance to get a big payday. Two more paydays.
Exactly. Yeah. So Mahomes is doing that. And who knows? There might be language in this contract that says, after a certain number of years, they can renegotiate or Mahomes has the right to do whatever. Like there's a lot of, language that could go in there that hasn't come to light yet. So who knows? I can't imagine this being the future for quarterbacks. I can't imagine quarterbacks wanting a 12-year deal. And I can't imagine many teams looking at a quarterback and saying, "Yeah, you're the future for the next 12 years." Mahomes is one of those guys where you do that. I mean, it just is.
We knew Brady, we knew Manning, we knew those guys would be so relevant in the league to where they are capable of doing that and still being around. They didn't. Mm-hmm. It's just the way that the market was at the time. But I think Mahomes genuinely likes being in Kansas City.
Of course.
Genuinely loves the fans, loves the area, and is perfectly fine with taking $500 million over 10 years. How could you not be?
Yeah.
Go out there with a good GM, a great Andy Reid who's still going to help mentor you along the way, and go get some Lombardis.
Yeah, and I mean, especially when you combine that with the fact that, I mean, he's going to be doing okay with other parts of his life. I mean, he's going to have lucrative sponsorships, things like that. I mean, like, this is one of those guys where it wouldn't shock me if he gets a LeBron deal. Would he get $1 billion from Nike to be the spokesperson for the rest of his life?
Lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that happening for Mahomes. Like, obviously, he's not there yet. He's not that generational of a talent. But I mean, he has the potential to do that if he does what he's done over the past 2 years for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Yeah, he'll get a deal like that. It wouldn't shock me a bit.
I hope there's Bears fans just crying right now.
Probably are.
Oh,
I mean, I would be if I'm as a Dolphins fan.
Think about it. 2 out of 3. I mean, I'm fine with Deshaun.
Yeah.
You could hit Deshaun, or you could hit the real gold mine in Mahomes. You got Trubumsky. You traded up.
Get him too.
Skull. All right, we can go on.
Okay.
I just had to jab him.
All right. With that, now that we just lost some viewers here.
Nah.
All right.
I'll be wrong about something. They'll come get me in the comments.
That's fine. The Browns restructured deal with Olivier Vernon's contract made basically $11 million a year of his contract guaranteed. So there were a lot of talks, a lot of theories that Olivier Vernon basically had no guaranteed money this year in his contract, and that could mean that they could cut ties with him and get Jadeveon Clowney. They kind of go the other way with that. They guarantee some money for Olivier Vernon, and that means they're probably out on Jadeveon Clowney.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. And that's
still waiting for him to sign.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where do you think? I mean, I know. Don't say Titans.
What?
Don't say. I'm just saying. I know we've said Titans 100 times. Do you think Do you think anywhere else is a possibility? At this
Seattle.
Point? Seattle is a possibility.
The Jets.
Yeah, I could see that.
I see Seattle and I see the Jets. It depends on if he wants the money, which I think that is really what he wants right now. Is just a good payday.
I mean,
I just don't think teams are out there and they have it right now. I'm pretty sure the Jets signed. Did they get Logan Ryan from the?
I think they did.
And I'm pretty sure they paid him pretty handsomely, which took them out. What I thought took them out of the Jadeveon sweepstakes.
That's right. Yeah.
Seattle, I don't know if they still got the money. It just depends on what you consider Jadeveon money. He wanted like $20 million. Get over that. $15 million is where I think it's gonna be. 15, 16 is what he'll actually get.
There were reports that I mean. I totally agree. I'm kind of going a different way with this. There were reports that the Dolphins offered him $17 million before they gave Byron Jones his deal, right? and he said no. So I think at a certain point he was misled by his agents. Whatever happened, there was somebody in his ear that probably should have been saying, hey, there's no one out there that wants to spend $20 million on you, and the longer you wait, the less likely that is. So
because everyone spends all their money, everyone wants to have their core, their unit going.
At this point, every single NFL team knows essentially the main roster that they're probably going to.
Everson hasn't signed yet, right?
No,
Everson's
waiting
the
on
last
Jadeveon.
domino behind Jadeveon, because
Jadeveon.
I think whichever way it goes, I do think the Titans have a chance at Everson
one of them, yeah.
or Jadeveon. Same for Seattle. I think it's more likely that Everson goes to Seattle, and that we get to see Jadeveon reunite with.
In the time, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
It absolutely wouldn't shock me a bit. At this point, I just don't think anything's likely. Like at this point, and I don't mean like it's. I'm just saying there's no team that I can point at.
I'm standing on it. It's the Titans that makes sense to me.
Yeah, and I get that, but I'm saying like I don't think there's any team that just makes sense at this point, because it would have happened by now. At this point, it could be any team in the NFL could sign Jadeveon, and I'd be like, okay, like I wouldn't be surprised at this point, just because
maybe it'll
the
come
way
out and
things have
shock
gone.
us, and he goes to a true star like team for cheap money.
Go to the fucking 49ers for a cheap deal.
Like,
can you imagine something like that?
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
Right now, we're not used to seeing stars of the game wait this long to sign, and we saw it in Cam a few weeks ago, or last week, whatever it was, for $1 million. Jadeveon, who knows? A lot of teams don't have that money.
When was it? Was it April when we sat down and we did our big free agency thing,
yes.
and we were talking about, all right, these are the guys that have
July
signed.
the 7th.
Jadeveon Clowney and Cam Newton. We'll probably know it by next week, and we still don't know. I mean, especially with Jadeveon, it's just ridiculous.
And we're talking late August is the end of preseason.
Yeah, if there is a preseason.
Well, I'm
get
sure
to
there
that.
won't be, but that's saying 2 months, and you're not even on a team yet.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be one of the big producers.
Yeah.
If you're getting paid what you want to get paid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely agree. All right, so we'll move on. David Njoku is demanding a trade, but the Browns maintain he is a big part of the offense and do not want to sign him. It is worth noting that he did break his thumb in week 1 last year, and he missed 12 games, so he wasn't a big part of the offense last season. And the Browns struggled. You could kind of tell the Browns wanted to be in that 11-man personnel, or even 22 personnel a lot of times, and have 1 or 2 tight ends that could be out there, that could be pass catching weapons. And I think Njoku was supposed to be a big part of that. He gets hurt, and they just didn't have a backup plan. I think that's a lot of the reason why they went out and got Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
And then I think they were planning. Look, you look at the Browns; they have a lot or They do. And I think they were excited about one of their packages being a 22 personnel, where you have either
David
Jarvis
Njoku.
or Odell as the wide receiver. You have Njoku and Austin Hooper, who are 2 good pass catchers, and then you have Chubb and Hunt as your 2 running backs. That's a scary combo, right?
It really is.
So I
But
think
you can't blame Njoku for wanting out of that.
Not at all.
Now, I also understand from the Browns too, because if you can't be on the field, you can't be a good product when you're hurt.
Yeah.
And Njoku has had a lot. I mean, what's the word? Potential hype. Hype.
Yeah,
Hype is what
he
I'm
was a
looking for.
first-round pick.
Well,
A
yeah,
lot of people
he's
thought he was
always
going
been
to be big.
hyped up, and when you hear the fantasy talks come around, it's like Njoku's the sexy pick to get late on the tight end because he should be putting up the big numbers, and he should. But he hasn't. Last year, due to injury, the year before that, it just really wasn't gelling as well. We know the Browns didn't click.
Rookie kind of situation.
So, I mean, maybe he'll go somewhere else. I would like to see him go to New England, but New England just spent some picks on some young tight ends.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. It is worth noting for the New England conversation that they did restructure a deal with Burkhead, the running back, to free up a little bit of money, not a lot. Maybe that had something to do with this. Maybe they're saying, man, the Browns and the Patriots make a lot of deals.
Yeah.
I mean, shit, if they got Njoku, that'd be ridiculous.
Well, I think it'd be good because I'm assuming this is going to be the Cam Newton Patriots.
Yeah.
Even if it's the Stidham Patriots. You have a lack of offensive weapons. Go get Njoku. Give yourself a chance.
Absolutely.
And then Cleveland is still loaded with talent. They're really not going to miss Njoku, in my opinion. I think Austin Hooper is a big upgrade for that, especially in the passing game.
Yep.
Why not?
Okay, absolutely. I totally agree. And other than the Patriots, is there anywhere else you'd like to see him go? Take away maybe deals and trades. Like I know the Cowboys have already come out and said that they don't want him. I think Cowboys probably would have been my pick.
Out like crazy.
Yeah. I couldn't think of anybody.
I mean, I'm not big on O.J. Howard for the Buccaneers.
Yeah,
because
that's an interesting one.
Well,
but they just got.
I know they got Gronk, but I don't know how much I can invest in that. Like looking at it from face value. I mean, he's been out of the league. I'm not going to doubt his physical ability or his talent. It's still there, but I'm just saying, be done with O.J. Howard. Go try it in David Njoku. Yeah, maybe you get that.
No, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I don't know if there's anywhere that just absolutely stands out to me. I can't imagine a team just thinking. I mean, maybe what? No, I can't really think of anybody.
Can't name a lot of tight ends.
I could think.
That don't need a good tight end.
I could think the Colts. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think the Colts could see Njoku as a guy
Doyle.
who. I know they have Doyle, but I mean, they could look at who they have at quarterback, Philip Rivers, who
and Eric Ebron too.
No, Eric Ebron left. I can't remember where he went,
sucks.
but he did leave. Yeah, I could see. I'm just spitting. I'm spitballing here. I don't know, but we'll move on. A little bit of college news here. Texas A&M was tagged with some minor sanctions for recruiting violation, and this was Jimbo. I'll actually let you take the lead. You know a little bit more about this.
No, it's good. I mean, Jimbo and one of his assistant coaches had legal contact with a recruit, and we know the NCAA's. They harp on everyone for this. I mean, It could have been something as easy as coming over to his house for a barbecue or going to see him at some other school function event. Yeah, it's a little ridiculous. But the big thing here is that they're on a year probation. And a lot of athletes, if you're looking to go compete, you can't do it for a year. I mean, that kind of takes away from the attention. Yeah. And the clock is running out on Jimbo, in my opinion. I think the fans at A&M, so we said it when Jimbo went there. He is a top 5 paid college coach out there. Great talent. I mean, what he did at FSU, we saw him build a mountain there, and now we see where that mountain's at now because Jimbo's not there. So I'm not trying to throw shade at you.
For anybody watching or listening, I'm a huge Florida State fan.
I'm just saying, one day you will be back. But I was sweating bullets when Jimbo went to A&M because that's the last thing, I'm an Auburn fan, that I want to happen in the SEC West is you add Jimbo with Saban and Coach O.
There have been some moments, some big moments here and there. I feel like
they're
from Texas
an 8-win team in and out.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I'm not defending it. Don't get me wrong.
Jimbo should eat. He should eat Texas Longhorns because they haven't established themselves back up. Tom Herman isn't doing a good job at Texas.
You gotta look. It's crazy because if you look at what Jimbo's done at Florida State, I mean, he kept Clemson at bay for a lot of years when Clemson was really good, but
y'all were the ACC before Dabo.
Absolutely. I mean, we kept Dabo Swinney and Clemson at bay for a lot of years where they were really good, but we kept beating them in the head-to-head matchups, and we had a chance. There was a couple years
we
dominated Florida and we dominated UT.
Too.
We dominated Miami, and we absolutely got the best recruits out of Florida, I feel like, for the most part.
So assuming that he can go do that in the hardest state, Florida, I mean, Texas may be a little bit harder, but either way, throw him in Texas, and then you're competing against, TCU, Baylor, Texas. I mean, good programs, but you're Jimbo Fisher. You should be able to swing those guys to come play in the SEC, and he has. He's gotten good recruits, and they have not panned out, and I'm sure fans are upset.
How much longer does he have? What's the leash? If it continues exactly the way it has.
It just depends because now if you're looking at from a university standpoint, if you're the president of the athletics and you're going to say, well, this year's a wash.
Yeah.
But your fans don't want that. I'm sure fans probably upset.
I'll be honest.
Fans were upset 2 years ago.
Is it fair to say that this is the best possible year to get sanctions put on you?
Yeah, that's true.
I'm just saying.
Well, because we technically don't know. And I don't know what happens if they cancel this year, if it carries over next year.
I don't know.
But regardless, Jimbo's on the hot seat. I do.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. He should be on the hot seat. I mean, he was brought in. He was a huge hire. I think it made waves. Destroyed a franchise pretty much. I mean, I feel like personally.
It's okay. You can say that. It was a sad day for you.
It was. Yeah, I remember.
He's supposedly a quarterback legend, and he has Kellen Mond, who I sometimes am high on sometimes, and he just hasn't really developed that well.
I mean, he's a guy who turned E.J. Manuel, Christian Ponder, Jameis Winston, all into first-round picks.
Talk about Christian Ponder.
I'm just saying, they were all first-round picks because of what he did for them at Florida State. I mean, that was a big part of it.
Vikings reached on him.
Yeah, they did, exactly.
Bad.
So I mean, you see stuff like that.
He's a great coach. It's just when you get this top 5 money, we see it year in, year out with Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, that's my whole thing. Why is he not able to do that with these guys? I don't know.
You can't get paid however much $1 million to beat Ole Miss and Miss State every single year. You got to take care of Auburn. You got to take care of LSU. You got to take care of Bama. You got to do that year in, year out. That's how you hang around in the SEC.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. All right, so we'll move on. NFL is canceling the 1st and 4th preseason game.
Why the 4th?
I mean, 4th
just
doesn't
give
matter.
It another year.
I mean, I really don't think it doesn't really matter if they're canceling the first and last. Doesn't that? I mean,
that's why I said why do the 4th?
What's the difference between canceling the 1st and 2nd? I don't know. I don't think it actually matters. But whatever. It's the 1st and 4th. That's the way it was read to me. And the NFLPA is recommending 0 preseason games. So preseason's probably going to be gone. This is the first step. I would imagine that preseason's gone. We already know camps are going to be seriously hurt by this. Man, we're in July 7th as of recording this. It's gonna be we're gonna be right down to the wire on if there's gonna be camp. We're gonna be right down to the wire, and this is just purely for NFL. At college, I feel like it's a totally different conversation as far as the way this is all gonna pan out.
A more gloomy situation. Too.
Yeah, it really is. But for the NFL, you look at how they're kind of lucky. Just because of when this hit, it had a perfect time for the NFL to watch other teams deal with this, or excuse me, other franchises, other sports leagues deal with this.
Yeah.
Sorry, they're watching hockey. They're watching
literally
the
every
NBA.
single one has already had their play.
Yeah. They're watching the NBA, So they're watching. They're getting to learn. At the end of the day, none of them are really doing it right yet. I mean, we haven't seen anything that's worked. At the end of the day, you're not going to see anything that works because people are still going to get this, and it's going to look bad on the the sports leagues. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I would imagine all of it's going to go away. We're still going to have a regular season one way or the other. It feels like, and this is just me conjecture 100%, and I could be totally off on this. Let me know what you think in the comments below. What it feels like to me is that we're kind of going in the direction of, fuck it, we're just gonna have to live our lives and deal with this. Like, that's what it feels like. At least to me. And granted, I work in the hospitality business. I'm still out of a job. I'm furloughed. I'm waiting to get back, and I'm kind of getting to the point where, like, I might not be coming back. I might just get screwed, and it is what it is. It feels like everything's just gonna start opening up, and everything's just gonna slowly just say we have to move on, and the capitalist nature of our country is going to just take over, and we're just going to have to full steam ahead, even though people are getting sick and things are happening.
Belt, buckle your bootstraps mentality.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, and I don't know if that's the case. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not saying that's what should happen. I'm not even giving my opinion on it. That's what it feels like we're going towards. What do you think on that? Do you disagree? Do you think I'm wrong on anything?
I've seen something that brings up a conversation about fans going to games. So I saw that they would empty out the lower bowl, so no lower bowl. Mm-hmm. So players, it limits that, of course, way more than a 6-foot gap between that. But then it said guys who want to sit in the upper bowl to watch your team have to sign a waiver. So I will ask the audience, let us know, what would you do? Would you sign a waiver to go watch your team play?
Yeah, I would.
With everything like it is today?
I would, yeah.
I would too.
That's just me. I
would too.
And granted, that could be just a product of where we live. We haven't gotten hit very hard here. We haven't seen it firsthand. I don't know anybody personally that's gotten sick, and that's different in other parts of the world. I know it's running rampant. I'm not trying to be ignorant to the facts, but in my little bubble and the things that I see, I haven't seen it. I've been affected by it very seriously, but I haven't seen it personally.
Yeah.
So
it's the thought of would you risk and sign the waiver, go spend your money, versus watching it at home in that experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would probably still want to go to I go to a couple games every year essentially.
Yeah,
so
same. I love it. I would do the same thing. I love football. I want to be able to see it, and not to devalue anything or anyone who has been affected by this, but like you said, for my experience in itself, I still really just like football and would like to go watch some football and kind of escape this whole quarantine vibe, this just get out of that mentality. Even though we are still in it, man, it's nice to find something you can escape in, and football is one of them. Yeah, no,
I couldn't agree more. As far as what this is going to do because we don't know. Let's go to college just for a second and talk about what could happen.
I think college is done.
You think college is done for sure?
If something happens with the college school year, I don't see how you can have college football. I just don't, because it ties in with your classes and your schedule, and unless they make it its own separate entity, I don't know how they can do it.
So I would argue that if they have classes, and I know I've heard there's been reports out there recently that have said that they're going to try and have college across the board. I would think that ends up being a state by state basis, a school by school basis, honestly. But if there's college, there can be football, I would think. That just makes.
But then we're at that same spot where, because we've already announced in Florida that they've said that come here if you want to play sports. We're good for that. So I'm assuming colleges are going to open up on time. Yeah. So then you have the Florida schools who are going to be able to play. Well, what if you have so-and-so schools who can't play? Then how are you going to base your league? And like you said, there's going to be a permanent asterisk over who wins.
I was going to say, no matter what happens in this year, there's going to be an asterisk. And that kind of brings us back to the NFL just for a second. Every couple of years or every year, there's a couple, UDFAs that come out of nowhere and make the team and end up being kind of really, really good right off the bat. This is going to kill them. Yeah. There's going to be a very, very small chance for any, undrafted free agent guys to come in and work hard and prove that they have a spot in this, in the team, because there's not going to be as many camps. There's not going to be any chance to prove themselves in preseason games.
Less limelight. You can't show it.
Yeah, it's going to suck. Like, I mean, in a couple of years ago, or a couple months ago, we were listening to Adam Thielen talk about how, you know, if this were happening this year, he never would have gotten to play in the NFL, and that's so true. Because and we're watching it play out. I mean, they need every single chance they can get, and they're not going to get any chances this year, and that's just the way it is.
Sad.
Yeah, it is. But moving on, I think it is the next big thing to talk about, and part of this whole social revolution that we're seeing is FedEx is requesting for Washington to change its name. That's the Washington NFL team.
Redskins.
I'm afraid to say it. I don't know if I can say it anymore.
The Washington Redskins.
And so they're going to change their name, and I don't really want to get in. I'll be perfectly honest. My personal opinion, the name never offended me. Why would it? White man who never really thought twice about the name. To be totally honest, maybe that's ignorant of me. I don't know, but I'll just say it the way it is. But if it offends people, fuck it, change it. I don't care. It doesn't. The name isn't like something that I hold dear.
Yeah,
so I
for
don't
me,
care.
I really don't care about the Washington Redskins. I don't want to be mean or anything. There's nothing really is appealing about it. The name doesn't bother me. I'm not offended by it, but I am invested in this issue about 2%. So if someone is 100% offended by it, change it.
Yeah,
it's okay if it makes people feel better, if it makes people come together, if it makes football happen, whatever the case, we can do it.
Hell yeah! All right, so we're gonna have fun with this. We want to name the Washington Redskins. We want to change their name. I have a couple names. I know you have a couple names.
Yeah.
I want to kick it off here. I have a couple of serious suggestions, and then just a couple kind of funny ones. I think.
Okay, I'm listening.
Or silly ones, I guess. All right. So my first name, I think very obvious. The Washington Warriors. That sounds good, right?
I like that. It rolls.
I mean, it just makes sense to me.
Are you in favor of a color change, or are you?
I think you could do Washington Warriors, and you could still kind of pay homage to the Native Americans and everything, and you could kind of
just
they were
not be
warriors.
so specific. Redskins.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like they're warriors. They're fighters. They were the first people in this land that we know of, at least.
Okay.
I think that's a good one. Do you have one? You want to go? We're gonna go back and forth, or
I've seen some online that are really trending, and I kind of get behind the Washington Red Tails.
Okay.
It's kind of a cool one.
That's a cool one.
I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So next one, Washington Senators. I like this one because it would go along with the Nationals and Capitals.
Oh,
right?
Dude, and if they do the color scheme,
yes.
I want them to. So I would really love them just to change up the whole thing.
Yeah,
just to make this just be a new era, and then when they tank and they get Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields, boom, they're here. Boom.
Now, do you like the idea of like a red, white, and blue type of combo?
I fuck with those colors, man.
Yeah, I mean, you could just add. Really, all you gotta do is add some blue to change the red a little, and then add some blue, and you're there, right?
No. Change them up. No.
Change them up completely.
Look like the Wizards, the Nationals, the Capitals. What do they all have in common? Same color scheme.
Yeah.
Throw it on the.
All right.
Redskins.
Bet. Yeah. No, I like that. So I think DC Defenders is something that should be thought of. I know that was an XFL name.
I was about to say that sounds familiar.
Yeah. The DC Defenders. I just like that name. I thought that was a cool name when it came out. I actually really liked it. Like they I feel like it would just be like you go to Goodwill, you find a new name, and you use it as your own, right? Like they're just
totally
they're just getting a used name.
Your name.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. I also think another DC name. I don't have it here. Never mind. Oh, there it is. The DC. The DC corruptocrats. All right.
Corruptocrats. Okay.
Yeah, the DC corruptocrats. To pay homage to the corruption in Washington. I mean,
That's good.
And then if they ever cheat, they'll be like, we told you we would. It's like the Raiders when they played dirty. Like we were like, we told you we would.
Yeah,
we play dirty.
Team.
That's our thing. This could be them. They could cheat, and that could be their thing. I really like that idea. They could be the cheaters. Then Bill Belichick can go coach for the Washington corruptocrats. It would just work perfect.
Gosh, that's what the Patriots need to change.
I'm telling you.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one.
I don't know what's so here's one that you're not gonna like. Y'all aren't gonna like. Listen, it's funny, it works, and honestly, it just sounds good. The Washington Foreskins.
It's a good one. I like that.
You like foreskin?
Got him. No, I think that's a perfect name. You don't have to change a lot. What would the color scheme be if you're the Washington Foreskins?
I mean, you could be some off beige,
pale and pink,
something.
maybe.
Yeah, pale and pink. That's fine. I mean, I'd really just like to do it just to make fun of Dan Snyder because that's what he is. Big old lump of foreskin sitting up there. Get rid of the team. See some good choices happen.
Hell yeah, I love it.
They are going to change their name though. I'm pretty sure. like I said, I would like to see them change everything and just let this be a new era, and then we can always look back on the Washington Redskins.
I mean, at least in our era, and I know Washington was really good, before our time, but I mean, we're in our mid-20s. They've never been shit in our time, really. I mean, they had.
Damn, you said it.
Have they? I mean, okay, they had a couple years with RG3, but they never really amounted to a whole lot. I feel like they've always kind of been a dumpster fire for a franchise, at least in my memory.
When you add up Super Bowls, though, they're up there towards the top.
They absolutely are. That's what I'm saying. And this era, not. I know they were good back in the day. They beat the Dolphins in the Super Bowl one year, so I know about all that. But I'm just saying, they could use an adjustment, right? The Broncos did it. They changed from their nasty colors to some nice, cool. They changed their entire look, became fresh, started winning some games. You could see something like that. There could be some changes.
That's why I said I get behind it. I like it a lot.
Okay, change it.
Red, white, and blue. That's what I want.
Hell yeah! All right, so we will move on to some fantasy football draft strategies, right? All right, so let's dive into it. You're going into your fantasy league, and let me point out first of all, this is geared towards redraft leagues, and we can kind of talk about dynasty and all those other things if it comes up. But really, in general, we're just talking about redraft leagues. Maybe if you're in a keeper league and
just your normal base standard old football league.
Exactly. So the one we're all pretty aware of.
Yeah.
All right. So what is your? I'll ask you first.
Yeah.
What is your draft plan? What is your fantasy draft plan when you go in? What are you targeting? What do you want?
Am I going to be a butthole for asking where I pick?
I mean,
that's an interesting conversation.
I think that is. Yeah, no, start there. Okay, so let's say, tell me the difference between, first 2 or 3 picks, the middle rounds, or at the turn, the end.
So, I'm really big on being at the turn. Okay. I really like the turn. I think one of the things that wins fantasy leagues is depth. I think you got to honestly just have, solid plug-and-play guys that you can get here, and it's like, dang, this is a bad week on buys for my opponent. Well, I can plug in so-and-so and so-and-so, and they're getting me easy 15 each.
Yeah.
Stuff like that is really what drives you into the playoffs. Now, deep success, I think championship-wise, comes on the back of certain players. We could say a Saquon for one. Christian McCaffrey can do that. So if you're picking up front, yes, but no matter where I'm picking, early on it's running back.
Yeah.
Running back heavy. I always target running backs. I like to grab 2, honestly, before I grab 1 wide receiver. And if I'm grabbing that wide receiver, probably around pick 6, 7, or 8, I'm not too happy about it.
Yeah.
It's just me personally.
It's
not
tough.
saying you can build a good team around having that Michael Thomas or Julio, but man, just give me the running back, because you got to have those dogs that get 80% of the workload. That's my running back 1. That's your McCaffreys and your easy names. All those guys. Give those guys to me, and then you can have all the receivers you want.
Yeah. So talking about just running back specifically,
yeah.
I will say, and I will stand by this very strongly. When I get out of my draft, right, I want to have a running back obviously assuming there's 2 running backs in a flex spot, and let's say 10 bench spots, right?
Yeah.
I want to have 3 running backs starting. I want to have, the 2 running backs and then 1 flex, and I want to have 5 running backs on the bench. I want to have a surplus of running backs. Now that means getting 3 guys in the first 5 or 6 rounds that I know I can start with, and granted, usually that's the first 2 or 3, 4 rounds.
Yeah.
But if I get one in the 5th and I'm okay with them as my flex, that's fine. And then later on, I want to take shots. I want to take shots on rookies that might have a chance to
gain some work. Shots.
I do.
Yeah.
No, I'm aggressive. It goes both ways for me. Sometimes I trust what I believe in. I trust I'll take a gamble on a guy that I believe in the 3rd, 4th round, and if usually he's a rookie and you don't know a lot about him, or you don't know how he's going to be used, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I've won a league because I drafted Kareem Hunt at the right time in his rookie year, and I think he popped off. Yeah, he popped off, and I think I had somebody else, and I ended up winning that league. Last year, and I think the same league, or a couple different leagues, I drafted. I was really high on Montgomery for the
David
Bears.
Montgomery.
I thought he was the same kind of guy. I believed in him coming out of college, and I thought he would be the dude. Didn't work out. I got pretty far in most of my leagues, but it just you take chances. I bet on myself. I bet on what I know. But then later on, I take risks, man. I want the Devin Singletaries from last year, right? So when
I had Devin Singletary. I loved him.
But when we draft in our league, in our keeper league, I believe I traded you Devin Singletary. But what had happened was I drafted him super late. Now we played in a deep keeper where there's 20 rounds of draft, and I drafted him super late. But I drafted him when McCoy was still on the team and Frank Gore was on the team. So he was a 3rd string running back. Nobody thought anything of him, but I took him just as a chance. It was a flyer pick. I am so happy to take those shots on running backs, especially rookie running backs, because you see more rookie running backs pop off. I think that's the best way to put it. That you see more rookie running backs just show up and have fantasy output. Rookie wide receivers, you don't see it as much. Like we saw it from A.J. Brown last year, Metcalf a little bit, but you don't see it as much. And wide receivers, just to be totally fair, they're harder to predict week to week. Running back, you can kind of base it on the percentage of snaps that they've gotten, that they project to get. You can kind of see based on the offensive line they have, the defensive line that the team's going to have, the type of game it's probably going to be, and you can project what a running back's going to be to some success. You're never going to predict it perfectly, but to some success you can. Wide receiver, it's tougher.
Well, yeah, and to look outside of running back and wide receiver, I'll go into quarterback. For me, I know some people are really big on getting Mahomes, getting Lamar, getting all those guys in the second, third, names. Fourth round. Yeah, Deshaun. For me, it's not the case. I'm perfectly fine with taking a Matt Stafford in the 9th round. I will rock Big Ben. I'm fine with that. Give me Josh Allen. Josh Allen was my quarterback last year. I'm sure his stock will be up a little bit more this year because of the rushing numbers around it. Pretty sure I was able to get him in the 7th round, though. Totally okay with that. These are guys that you can look up on a matchup based. Give me 2 of them. Like I said, a Matt Stafford, Big Ben.
So you like to say 2 quarterbacks.
Kirk Cousins, I'm okay with. Yeah. Anytime that I can have 2 of them, then I can say, okay, so-and-so's playing the Jets. Last year they were pretty bad. So-and-so's playing the Dolphins. Pretty bad. It just depends.
So what I like to do with quarterbacks.
I'm big matchup based.
And I'm big matchup based as well. What I like to do with quarterbacks, and sometimes I will keep 2 on a roster. I don't think that's a bad move. A lot of times, I'll play the waiver wire for quarterbacks, and I will just base it solely on, I will look for Ryan Fitzpatrick had an awesome fantasy year last year.
He did.
Because he was on a bad team and he had to throw the rock around a lot. I mean, they had to play from behind a lot. So things like that are something that I do look for. You don't always want the best quarterback in the best team because they might be running back the ball a lot in the 4th quarter.
You'll eat getting those good guys. I'm not going to sit here. I mean, fantasy-wise, we know that the value's there.
So I will say, as far as just if you never really play fantasy football, you do not draft a quarterback within the first 4 or 5 rounds at the very least. Granted, some people will go take a chance on Mahomes and just not want to have to think about it. Look, and that sounds great, and that's awesome, and it's great if Mahomes puts up 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. But a lot of times he'll put up 4,500 yards and 35 touchdowns, right? And that's still an awesome season.
Matt Stafford getting 4,300 off of 27 touchdowns.
Exactly.
Is that really that big of a difference? Because if you look at your running backs that you could take in that round, you could legitimately land a Nick Chubb versus a running back you would get in the 7th or 8th round.
Yeah.
Jalen Richard.
Exactly.
Look at the difference.
And Matt Stafford, he's going in the 10th or 11th round, right? So the value of these quarterbacks later in drafts are really, really there. I mean, you got to get one. Obviously, quarterback's very important. But if you just kind of, what I always do is I bet on the high percentage guys, right? You can get a Russell Wilson who's going to be very consistent. He's going to have those big games, obviously, and then if he's not, he's going to have the 10 to 15 point games. He's not going to ruin your week. But at the same time, Russell Wilson is on a running football team, and he doesn't get as many opportunities as of gunslinger like Jameis Winston gets, right? Last year, and I'm just saying specifically last year, Jameis Winston was a more valuable fantasy player to have because he threw 30 touchdowns and 4,500 yards, and granted, he threw some interceptions too, but it evened out and it made it pretty good for fantasy anyway. What I like to do with quarterback and what I did last year, the reason in one of my leagues I ended up winning a league because I had Lamar Jackson, right? And this was just a random league. The only reason I had Lamar Jackson was because Lamar Jackson was not expected to be super great last year because
people weren't
taking him super high. No, granted there was definitely some upside to him, but no one expected the season he was going to have. The only reason I personally had Lamar Jackson is because when I got to the rounds where I was looking at quarterback, I looked at the teams that they were going to play in the first 2 weeks. And I don't remember who they played the second week, but I knew they played the Dolphins in week 1. And I thought, the Lamar Jackson's going to play the Dolphins week 1. That sounds like a good game, or not a good game. That sounds like a good fantasy game.
And it was.
and it was.
Hollywood lit it up.
Huge game. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a Dolphins fan, so I mean, I still remember that. But I knew how bad the Dolphins were going to be, and I took Lamar Jackson. I just never benched him because I never had to. He just won me week after week after week. It worked out so well for me. That kind of thing can happen. So find the later guys, find the high upside guys. I think Kyler Murray is a guy this year who is going to be a high upside guy. He's not going to be the first quarterback off the board. He's going to go in that 2nd or 3rd tier. By the way, tier system. We're going to get to. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I think that's so important. Taking a chance on Deshaun Watson's and the Patrick Mahomes. It's just it can work out for you. It absolutely can, but you have to hit, and if you don't hit, you missed out on some serious value at other positions.
Yeah,
like
you got to
running
make
back
sure
and wide
that you
receiver.
hit on. You got to make sure your receivers are good to go after that. Your running backs.
Yeah.
What do you do about tight end?
Tight end. So I am big. I'm very big on punting tight end. I really am. So, and by punting, I mean
punting is one of those things. Like
it's dangerous.
It's a spot that can get you.
Now punting basically means that you're not going to draft. You're going to take a tight end from the bargain barrel at the very end, right?
Yeah.
So what I like to do is I like to get my depth on wide receiver and running back and kind of play matchups week to week. And with tight end, like there's like 2 or 3. 4 right now, I guess, that are tight ends. You're going to start every single week. You're going to start George Kittle. You're going to start. Travis Kelce. You're going to start Eric Ertz. I'm sure I'm missing a couple here and there. Hooper, I guess you're probably going to start every week. Who else am I missing?
Kyle Rudolph.
Well, he's a fringe starter. I don't know if you start him every single week.
I run it.
You run it? Okay. But you know, there's a couple guys that you believe in to have serious fantasy output. And then there's that next tier where it's just all kind of random and it just depends on how teams play tight ends. And what I love to do is take shots on these younger tight ends because I feel like there's so many coming out in the last year. And granted, I've just gotten lucky. Like I really have. Like the Giants tight end Evan Ingram. He's gotten hurt the past couple of years, but I've been able to get him kind of late and run him for a lot of years.
Well, yeah, I got George, he's pretty much a receiver.
In our league, and we kind of go back to this league. Who's my tight end? Who's my keeper?
You got George Kittle.
I got George Kittle, and I got
13th round.
Yeah, 13th or 14th round, I think. Yeah. That was just a shot. It was a shot in the dark on a guy who I believed had some talent. This was the
unproven George Kittle 2 years ago.
This was who I drafted 2 years ago, and now I get him as a sweet keeper. I mean, it's just one of those things.
Yep.
Yeah, I take shots. I take shots on younger guys, and you can kind of tell if you go on.
I'm fine with that. You could do a Noah Fant this year.
Yeah, Noah Fant's a big one.
You could do a TJ Hockenson again.
There's a lot of tight ends this year that I think have a shot. You could say TJ Hockenson. You could say Noah Fant. You could look at the Miami Dolphins and Gesicki. He has a chance. David Fells for Houston. I mean, he kind of came on the end of last year. He has a chance to do some things. I mean, if Njoku goes to the right team, we talked about him earlier this year or in this podcast. If Njoku goes to the right team, he gets traded. That could be a big upgrade, and he could end up doing something. There's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of guys. Yeah, you're taking a chance, and if you don't hit, you're kind of playing the tight end game from week to week. And I know people who are very good fantasy players and win pretty consistently their leagues. And they take a tight end early because they don't want to have to deal with the tight end hell.
It's rough. I did it last year, and I was caught in a spot where I was looking for the tight end, and it was just sometimes when you're on that waiver wire and you just can't find one, if you're having to start tight end 2 as a result, man, it hurts.
Yeah,
because that's a spot where you can get 12 to 15 points.
Absolutely. So the argument for punting tight end, beyond the possibility of getting somebody, is the fact that on a week-to-week basis, there's only about 4 or 5 tight ends that put up big numbers.
That go into that.
And then the rest of them just put up bleh numbers. And if you have one tight end going up against another tight end and they both put up bleh numbers, it's a wash. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're good.
Then it's the rest of your league.
A lot of it's situationally. I mean, because like Kyle Rudolph, like you said, you can't just run him every single week and be comfortable about it.
No.
There's some weeks where he gets 2 points because he got targeted one time because they use him in the run game a lot. Yeah. Because the Vikings are winning, they're running it. Then there's times when they're on the goal line twice on 3rd and 2, and who do they go to?
Yeah,
they go to him. So there's times where he could go 14. There's 2. But it's Kelce, Kittle, those big dogs. We know who they are.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that if you're going to get them, I understand going to get it. Other than that, wait.
And the thing is, if you're going to get a George Kittle, if you're going to get one of those guys, you have to draft them in the first 2 rounds, 2 or 3 rounds. That's tough to do. That really is. And by the way, I write for a fantasy football site called Hammercast, and they do a lot of different things. But I'm one of the staff writers on there. There's a lot of great articles from them about just different fantasy football things. And I have a series where I go team by team and I talk about all the fantasy football options and things like that. But there's another staff writer that goes down the line and it's going to be talking about tight ends, I believe, next week actually. So be on the lookout for stuff like that. There's so many resources out there. I suggest Fantasy Cast. I think they're doing a lot of good things. But back to the conversation.
Yeah.
When you talk about tight ends specifically, if you're going to take a tight end in the 2nd round, you're passing up on a lot of premium talent from the running back and wide receiver position. I mean, this is a T.Y. Hilton jersey right here. Yeah. You can get T.Y. Hilton in the 2nd round. He's going to put up some numbers. You can get a Saquon Barkley in the first round. Obviously, that's different. Maybe that's a bad example. I was just looking.
Well, I mean,
at
you could throw
jersey.
you could throw Amari in there. I mean,
Amari
you could throw
Cooper, yes.
There's so many
A lot
Keenan
of running
Allens.
backs.
I mean,
Leonard Fournette's probably going to go in the second round. You know, he's getting a lot of value. So the whole point is, it's scary to take a tight end, especially when, you know, it seems like every single year for the past couple of years, there's been like a big three, and one of them has fallen off. It seems like every single. It's weird, you know.
I would say last year was Zach Ertz.
Yeah, Zach Ertz fell off a little bit, even though he was the most targeted guy on his team.
Yeah,
but he fell off just because he wasn't able to produce in the same way.
Not even that he fell off necessarily. It's that the other two exceeded different heights.
That's exactly what it was.
Thing,
yeah, absolutely agree. All right, so we kind of went through. Do you want to circle back to wide receivers? Do you feel like we touched on them enough? I feel like they're kind of.
No, I mean there's
the basic.
So for me, I am okay with getting, like, if you look at certain people, like a Robbie Anderson last year, went late in a lot of leagues. I'm not talking about him this year because he went to the Panthers. That's where he's at now. So look at it from a last year perspective about him being the wide receiver 1 on the New York Jets. Yep. Fantasy-wise, he doesn't go that early. But at the end of the day, if you give me the option of taking a wide receiver 3 on a good team or a Robbie Anderson, a wide receiver 1 on any other team, give me that. Yeah, I'll do the argument same for the wide receiver 2 on a team versus the 1. Ones get you targets get you numbers. You can't always equate it to that exactly because of the offense and the way things work. Tyler Boyd last year was able to win some people some games, not because he's necessarily the best wide receiver.
He was the top 20 fantasy wide receiver last year. Got him very cheap.
It's just hard to believe you can get certain guys cheap because of where they are in their system.
You can win your leagues with guys like that. You really can. It's not about, because if everyone hits on their first, not everybody's going to hit in their first 3 rounds, but figure, you know, if half your league hits on your first 3 rounds, and then it comes to, like, can you hit on your mid-round guys? Can you get kind of lucky with guys
mid-round is what wins you leagues.
Oh, absolutely. And mid-round is where you kind of have to really implement the tier system, right? Because in the first couple rounds, everyone kind of knows the same value. The value kind of gets pretty obvious.
You get your tier 1s in round 1 and 2.
Absolutely. So everyone kind of knows the same guys that we're targeting in the first couple rounds. Then I feel like the mid round, anywhere starting from 3 to 7, that's where I really like to implement the tier system, and it's basically where you should take the time to rank your players, right? And you can really just go online and find a ranking. You know, I'm gonna have my rankings out at some point. I'm gonna finish my my deep dive of every team. Then I'm gonna put out my rankings. But you know, you can put out your rankings, right? Or you can go online, find somebody else's rankings, and then just kind of fiddle with it. Decide, you know, you disagree here or whatever you want to do, and then divide them up into tiers. Like all the guys that you want ahead of, like, you know, the big tiers. These are the top guys. You know, your tier 1 are your McCaffreys, your Barkleys, your number 1 picks, and then you go down a tier, and then you go down another tier, and you just kind of, it's a way to kind of sift through the trash of those middle rounds where you're like, man, who should I get? You can go back to and actually look at your rankings and say, well, you know, I have all these guys in the same kind of tier, so I don't really need to get any of them, but there's this one running back that's a tier ahead of all of them. Let me just draft him now and hope one of these guys falls to the next round. Yeah. That's how you maximize
and
your
it
value.
saves you from getting stuck without, like, because then you start looking at receivers at a certain point. Happens every single year. You look at them and it's like, oh God,
I don't know that. Yeah,
what is going on?
There's so many examples of, I don't know the difference between these 3 guys. I don't know who's going to produce more. Who knows, right? Well, you can kind of, it gives you an opportunity to be honest with yourself on, like, nobody really knows what's going to happen, but you can kind of project people in the same area, the same tier, and then you can differentiate things that way. I think it's a very effective tool to just maximize the amount of value that you're going to get out of your fantasy team, because everyone's going to get lucky. Even if you put no time into it, no energy into it, and you just draft randomly, you can still hit the Tyler Boyd that
you've seen
just,
auto drafts hit before.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can just hit the right guys. Like me, I'll be perfectly honest. I just got lucky with Lamar Jackson last year in one of my leagues. I didn't know he was going to produce the way he produced. I wasn't projecting that. I just, you know, I just saw Lamar Jackson. I saw the value in the first couple of weeks, and I went with it. Got lucky. You can get lucky that way too. But I feel like the tier system is a good way to maximize your chances, basically.
Cool.
Yeah. You good? Anywhere else you want to go with that?
No, I know we're going to be getting into fantasy more and more once we start doing it.
We're gonna kind of
we're gonna do a few mocks on the pod too.
Oh, it's gonna be fun. I'm really excited about that. All right, so we will get into our top 5s.
Ooh, that's where we're at.
That is gonna be a good one. All right, so here we go. Do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
You go first.
All right, so I am offense, right? So we're doing top 5 offensive players from the AFC South, right? And I have a bunch of honorable mention guys that I think are worth noting, right? Laramie Tunsil and Ben Jones, all right? Center for the Titans, Ben Jones, and Laramie Tunsil, obviously left tackle for Houston, was part of that big trade. We know those guys. They're an honorable mention, very good football players. A.J. Brown and DJ Shark are both honorable mentions. Both guys, young players that I think have the potential to I really believe the sky's the limit for both these guys. They were so close to being on my list. Both of these guys, they were 5A and 5B as far as like who I really wanted to be on my list. I wasn't sure, and I really struggled with it. I think both of them have the talent to be one of the top receivers in the league at a certain point. They're not there yet. Obviously, they're young. They're still developing. DJ Shark's probably in a worse situation because he's not on as good of a team. Yeah. But we'll see what happens. I think A.J. Brown has a really good chance. I like them both honorable mentions. One other one. I'm going to get shit for this, and I know I am. Bring it on, whatever. Ryan Tannehill is an honorable mention for offensive players in the AFC South, and the reason for that is he had an awesome 10 games last year. He did. Yeah, he did. And granted, look, he wasn't asked to do a lot in the playoffs. I understand that the Titans came into the playoffs and said, we're going to run Derrick Henry. He wasn't asked to do a lot, but he did everything he was asked to do. When they needed a big throw, he gave it to him. He led this team down the stretch to a lot of wins. And look, there's been a lot of quarterbacks, and I obviously don't know this personally. I never played in the NFL, but there's a lot of quarterbacks, the ex-quarterbacks in the NFL that have said that playing the way that Ryan Tannehill plays, or the way they asked Ryan Tannehill to play, is very difficult. I mean, they Chris Sims is one that comes to mind as one of my favorite analysts, and he's talked about on many occasions about how hard it is to play the quarterback position the way the Titans asked Ryan Tannehill to play it. And I'm not going to get into the details because obviously I don't know that. That's just
it's constantly having all the pressure on you, exactly. Knowing that you aren't even the vocal point of your own team.
It's a run, pass on third down, big money
run,
situation.
Run, bail us out on the money, 3rd and 8.
Exactly.
Have fun.
It's what we talk about with Russell Wilson. I mean, Russell Wilson has a tough life. Run, bail us out, Russell Wilson. Run, bail us out, Russell Wilson. And I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill was to that level, but he was definitely a very good quarterback last year. He deserves to be mentioned. I know he gets a lot of shit. He wasn't that great with the Dolphins, but the Dolphins weren't that good with him either. So now he's one of those guys that I feel like the sky's the limit when he's on a good team and in a good system, and that's where he's at right now. So that I just wanted to bring that up.
Into the 5.
Maybe I'll get that shit for that. I don't know.
I like him.
Number 5, Brandon Cooks, the new wide receiver for the Houston Texans, almost wasn't on my list. Like I said, I really struggled with A.J. Brown and DJ Shark. I thought about putting one of them on there, but at the end of the day, Brandon Cooks, a more veteran guy. He's been around the league a little bit longer and probably just a better player at this point in his career.
He's a wide receiver
season.
1.
He absolutely is. Yeah.
I mean, you go back to the Rams and he was able to put up some good numbers. The Patriots didn't work out. Before that, at the Saints, he was awesome. Up there.
He was awesome. Yeah. Just weird just to see his career has been traded for 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick now. It's just a crazy career that he's had just to go from. I mean, and really, he's just been traded from one good team to another. I mean, that's all it is.
Yes.
He's gotten to have, Drew Brees throwing the ball, Tom Brady throwing the ball. Forget about the other quarterback that's throwing the ball. Now Deshaun Watson's going to throw him the ball. I mean, just an awesome career. He's going to have some great stories to tell to his kids one day. At number 5, your guy right here, T.Y. Hilton.
Hey.
I'm putting him on the list at I said number 5. Sorry, Number 4, T.Y. Hilton. I love T.Y. Hilton. I think T.Y. Hilton is awesome. He was drafted in the 2nd round the same year they took Andrew Luck, thank you. And I think everyone's surprised that he's still there and Andrew Luck isn't. But other than that, he's just played so well. He's one of those unsung heroes, I feel like, of wide receiverville. He just never gets mentioned as like one of the top receivers.
There's a lot of them that get put down there.
Yeah, and we're probably, we're guilty of that as well if we're talking about wide receivers. We don't usually put T.Y. Hilton on that list, but when he's healthy, he's a baller. He's just an absolute baller. At number 3, Derrick Henry. Number 3. The highest Titan that I have on this list. I know. I might get shit for that as well because I know a lot of Titans fans listen to this pod. I love Derrick Henry. I think he's an absolute baller.
Carried his team to the championship game.
I'll be the first to admit that I think before we had this podcast, really going into last year, I was kind of not super sure about Derrick Henry. I wasn't. I was on the fence. I wasn't sure if he was going to produce the way he had flashed that he could. I thought there was questions. I was wrong, man. He's just an absolute baller, man. He finally figured out, because I feel like early on his career he went down to arm tackles too much and he just didn't keep his legs turning.
For a guy that big.
It was just weird, like how you double this dude's size. Why are you going down to a cornerback getting your ankles? But now he's just an absolute monster. Super fast, super big, super strong. Doesn't go down. An absolute workhorse back that deserves all the credit in the world. It's weird that he's number 3, but I couldn't put Quentin Nelson any lower. I couldn't. Quentin Nelson is one of the best players at his position. I know he's a guard for the Colts, and no one wants to talk about guards, but man, Quentin Nelson is the baddest motherfucker there is. He's a monster. You just play in and play out. He doesn't lose. He just runs over people. He bulldozes people. And if he ever gets to get out in space and block for his running back, watch out, because he's just gonna plow over you. Quentin Nelson's my number 2, and it's crazy that he's over Derrick Henry. But Derrick Henry is a top 5 running back in his position, or top 5 player in his position, in my opinion. Quentin Nelson is a top 1 player at his position. I don't think there's a better guard out there right now. So
I get that.
So that's where I put that. And then at the top, Deshaun Watson. And we talked about Deshaun Watson earlier on this podcast. I love Deshaun Watson. I think he's an awesome player. I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the league. Generational talent almost. He's one of those guys who he makes so many plays happen. My only issue with him is that he does play a little bit like it's the last game of the. Excuse me. He does play a little bit like it's the last play of the game for him.
A little reckless.
Yeah, he's reckless. That's the best way to put it. He's all over the place, but he makes things happen all the time doing that, so you can't get too mad at him. At the same time, I worry about the length of his career if he's going to keep doing that and taking those big hits. Just wait until the absolute second to find, he's running now towards the sidelines, and he sees a tight end that's open for a second and then throws it, but by throwing, he's taking that huge hit, and he's doing it on 2nd and 3. Like, you got to put your body through that, man.
I think he's got that stuff. I'm worried about the Texans organization putting talent around him, because it showed that you're willing to get rid of his partner in crime in D-Hops for a 2nd-round pick.
Yeah.
Get out of here with that.
I couldn't agree more. And that's kind of why if you've watched this podcast or if you've listened to this podcast, I'm not a fan of Billy O'Brien. I don't make any qualms about it. I think he's one of the worst head coaches in football. I think he's one of the worst GMs in football. I'm very, very disappointed with what Billy O'Brien's been able to do with the amount of talent that he's had. That's just my personal opinion. It is what it is. But that shouldn't take away from how good Deshaun Watson is.
They hit a home run on that one.
Yeah, they did. They absolutely did.
All right, so there it is. Here's mine. I will start out with my honorable mentions. AFC South defense, Josh Allen and Miles Jack. Only 2 Jaguars on the list. None of them cracked the top 5.
It's crazy.
Just to think about a few years ago, they had AJ Bouye, Jalen Ramsey, Calais Campbell, Telvin Smith, Paul Postlesny. They got names that would be on that list. Barry Church.
Yeah.
Now they're all gone.
Crazy.
That sucks.
It does suck. It does, because they were one of the best. I'm wearing it. They were one of the best defenses
that's what took them
in
to
the league. I was watching them. I remember thinking, I don't know if I've ever seen a better defense. It was one of those things like they were just so fucking good. It was just ridiculous.
And that offense was so incredibly bad.
They were so bad. That defense is the reason Blake Bortles got a 3-year, $66 million deal.
Got money.
It's ridiculous. All right, I'll let you continue.
Justin Houston, honorable mention.
He's a baller. I don't know.
He's good.
I love Justin. I think he's
older.
A lot. He's older.
Yeah.
He is. And granted, he got moved on from the Chiefs, and he just played so well with the Chiefs. I don't know. I don't remember watching him a whole lot last year with the Colts. I guess I'm just remembering his time with the Chiefs in the first year with Patrick Mahomes, how good they were back then. Man, yeah, I get it.
He's good. There's
he has
plenty of other
declined a
Colts
little
on that team, though, that take up spots on this list.
That's fair. Totally
that's where
fair.
it comes. And then Titans fans, rejoice. Jeffrey Simmons.
Love Jeffrey
honorable
Simmons.
Mention.
Made a video about him.
I couldn't put him on the top 5 because we hadn't really seen the play develop. He was hurt for a little bit of the year, too.
Yeah.
But get ready. I'm telling you, that's why the Titans were so easy to get rid of Jarrell Casey.
Oh, absolutely.
Save the money, and you have a guy who is the same thing but younger and cheaper.
Yeah.
It just works out that way.
It's going to be a wrecking ball in the middle. I 100% agree.
Number 5, Malik Hooker.
Okay.
I like him a lot. I know you don't like him. You think he's a lot of draft type. That's why I was waiting for you to say something.
No, yeah. So it's not that I don't like him. He's been hurt a lot. I know you're I think Yeah, his best games were in college still. He just hasn't done it in the NFL yet.
It is not still in college.
I'm just saying he hasn't done it consistently in the NFL because he's been hurt. I'm not saying he can't do it.
Yeah.
I think he's incredibly talented. I think he can grow into one of the best safeties in the league, but there's a reason they've been talking about trading him. So that would be my issue with that trade.
I like Malik Hooker a lot.
I know he's a great player. I get where you're coming from with that. I think you're.
I mean, what other safety? I have one going on later, but Justin Reed. I like Malik Hooker more than Justin Reed at the Texans.
That's fair. I mean, I think I probably would have had him as an honorable mention and put one of your other guys in there at number 5. That's
Justin
just me.
Houston, I bet. No, that's okay.
Honestly, probably Miles Jack. I think Miles Jack's a baller, but he had kind of a bad year last year.
Number
I don't know.
4.
I would have had to think about it.
Kevin Byard. Probably should have been higher.
Baller. He's an absolute baller for the Titans. Love him.
Deion Sanders learned that name too. Kevin Byard. I don't know why you don't ever know who that is. Number 3, J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt at number 3. That's going to surprise some people. I think you're totally right in this.
I think
really
some
do.
people are going to say it's too low.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm the one that I don't know if you did this because of me, but I definitely told you, man, don't put J.J. Watt at number 1 because
You did tell me that.
I just because he's gotten older and
J.J.
I
Watt
question
is a monster of a man. He is a force. He is a legend, Hall of Famer, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, of course.
But I'm just looking at going into next year. The way that the defensive line of the Texans, I didn't like the way that they drafted around J.J. Watt on that D-line. They're losing Jadeveon Clowney. So now get ready for J.J. Watt to see some doubles and probably triples, honestly, when it comes to that line.
Yeah.
He still does it. He was 9th overall in PFF last year. Still does it well. But just the 2 guys above him, I think in their system, in their defense, they're going to get more areas to shine because they're not getting doubled every single time.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more with you. I love J.J. Watt. I think he's in the conversation for one of the best defensive players we've ever seen. I think if you made a top 10 list of all-time best defensive players, he would be in that conversation. I really believe that. I think right now, going into next year, and that's kind of how I do my list, right now and going into next year, kind of look at it. He has declined a good bit. I think number 3 is fair.
He was hurt, right?
Well, he came back at the end of the year, and he was dominant when he was on the field.
He was good.
Yes.
But like I said, injuries play into a big part of this, and hopefully that is the one thing when you look at J.J. Watt's career that has held him back, and he's still done insane things, but it has been injuries.
Couldn't agree more.
Number 2, he kind of had a bad year last year, but rookie year is one of my favorite linebackers, Darius Leonard.
Yeah.
And when I say bad year, it wasn't a bad year. He just didn't lead the NFL in tackles.
I was hoping you would say that because he didn't have a bad year. It
wasn't a bad year.
It just wasn't as good.
Exactly.
Dominant. It wasn't as dominant. We'll put it that way. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. If Darius Leonard's your number 1, I'm trying to think who
That's my number 2.
Darius Leonard's your number 2. Who's your number 1? I'm trying to think of who it would be.
I don't know.
It's
the same team.
It's the same team.
It is from the Indianapolis Colts. So I have Justin Houston, Malik Hooker, and Darius Leonard so far.
Okay. Yeah, that defense is baller. I don't know if it's...
They got a great defense.
Oh, God, who
and
else?
I know I'm going to get hate for it. I know some people may not see this man as being that good. We have the number 1...
Wait, give me a second. Are you putting DeForest Buckner on there?
AFC South defense, DeForest Buckner.
Oh,
You are the number 1. Listen, they traded away a first-round pick. The 49ers got it. Colt, you nailed it right there, okay? I mean, you're able to bring in D-Buck, pay the man. You totally remove yourself from the Jadeveon sweepstakes, but you get a guy who is younger and healthy and just as dominant of a force. I think he's going to be able to overtake J.J. Watt on the most dominant D lineman in that division.
Wow.
I really do.
You agree it's bold, though, right?
It's bold.
Yeah. I mean, it's bold to a sense. Of course, DeForest Buckner belongs in your top 5.
I like D-Buck.
I forgot about the name a little bit. I don't... At number 1?
Number 1.
Yeah.
Darius Leonard can't be the number 1. I think if I could go back and look at it again, I would throw J.J. at 2 and then D-Buck at 1, and I would kind of have them, do the little debate thing. But I do like Darius Leonard, and there wasn't another linebacker on my top 5.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of positional value where it goes. Yeah, D-Buck's good.
I don't blame you a bit for that.
You don't like D-Buck?
I love him.
What name did I leave off?
I think DeForest Buckner is really, really good. I think he was 100% worthy of that 13th pick overall.
He is the highest paid.
I don't think you left any name off that I can think of off the top of my head, although, I could definitely look at the roster and probably argue with you somewhere. But I know off the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I don't have a problem with that list at all. I mean, a little bit here and there, but I don't know. I'm surprised. Is DeForest Buckner the best player in the AFC South? Or the best defensive player in the AFC South? I think my list was probably a little bit easier.
When you look at it for face value, names. I mean, you could say J.J. Watt, but he missed a majority of the year.
I wouldn't say I would. J.J. Watt would not be the name I would go to if I'm thinking about.
It's definitely not Kevin. I mean, maybe Kevin Byard.
No.
It's not Malik Hooker.
No.
None of the honorable mentions.
No.
I think.
You're right.
I think having the departure of a Jalen Ramsey and an A.J. Bouye made my job a lot harder.
Yeah, he did. That's true. Okay,
And
look, I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
Up there too.
I want somebody to give you shit. I do. I want somebody online to come
fire away.
Put in the comments. Hey, you can give him shit, and you can put in the comments, and you can just say, hey, I want to be entered into this contest, and you're good. Just leave a comment.
Tell me that I'm right. Someone out there's got my back.
Yeah.
DeForest Buckner is a monster.
Yeah, it's gonna be So do that. Get your name. Give him shit. Give Jacob Waters shit. And put your name in the hat to win a Saquon Barkley jersey. That's a win-win for us. I really wish you would do that. I hope everyone does that.
Me. Bring it on. No, seriously, don't forget about our giveaway though. We are hoping that we can bring more of these in the future. We're going to do it on a month basis, hopefully. And new with tags, perfect Saquon, young player, one of the best running backs in the league. You can't tell me you don't want this for free. We will ship it to you for free. Give us the 5-star, give us the comment, give us the likes, and please just tell your friends about our channel.
Yeah.
We're really growing. We're hoping that next week or this week, by any chance, we'll be on the Underdog Podcast Network officially.
Yeah. So
we're there.
Yeah, I think we're going to be on this week. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But it's coming, guys. Thank you so much, everyone on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. There's not just podcasts. There are also other videos that come out weekly. So be on the lookout for all of that. Film reviews, stuff like that. Different kind of things. If you're listening on a podcast, just set it to download every single week. That really helps us out. Get our downloads up. Leave comments. Let's boost our numbers. Get us up into one of those top iTunes
that's the dream.
playlists. That's what we're shooting for, man. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. Peace out.
7.